Hi, welcome to the classes with Nadia. Today we can discuss clinical trials. Clinical trials are conducted to evaluate the safety and efficacy of various drugs in human subjects. Prior to clinical trials, there are preclinical investigations during drug development. This will generate data regarding the new drug's toxicity, pharmacokinetics, and pharmacodynamics. This data should be approved by authorities like FDA in US or EMA in Europe, etc., for further studies of this compound in human subjects. Different countries have typical approval processes. Application for this purpose is known as investigational new drug application. Once the investigational new drug application gets approval, the IND undergoes various phases of human drug trials. If the drug tests safe and effective, the drug sponsor can submit a new drug application or NDA to the regulatory authority like FDA or EMA. Then it gets reviewed by the authority to determine whether the drug can receive final approval for marketing. Drug trials in human subjects is generally subdivided into 5 phases. The drug is usually approved for use in people by national regulatory authority if it successfully passes through drug trial phases 1, 2, and 3. The entire drug development process usually takes years to proceed through all the phases. We can now move on to the different phases of clinical trial. First phase is phase 0. It is an optional phase done in small number of participants, usually from 10 to 15. In this study, drug is given in subtherapeutic level, so it's called as human microdosing study. This phase is to determine whether the drug affects humans as expected from preclinical investigations and to gather preliminary data on the pharmacokinetics and pharmacodynamics of the drug. It's also done for compounds or its derivatives which are never exposed to humans. And if this study fails to give a satisfactory result, then investigators have to go for additional preclinical studies or have to drop further studies on that compound as a drug. And the next phase is phase 1. This phase is to screen IND for safety and is usually done in small groups of healthy volunteers from 20 to 80 for few weeks or up to few months. If the IND is supposed to produce any serious side effects like cancer, it may not be ethical to introduce in a healthy volunteer. So in such cases, patients with disease or condition is preferred. And the purpose of this study is to determine safety and dosage. This phase includes determination of safe dose range, identify side effects, tolerability, pharmacokinetics, pharmacodynamics, route of administration, etc. And common types of studies in phase 1 are SAD or single ascending dose, MAD or multiple ascending dose, and food effect. Then phase 2. This phase is to determine efficacy and to further evaluate the safety of the IND. It is done on a large number of participants, usually from 100 to 300, with targeted disease or conditions. It usually lasts for several months, sometimes up to 2 years. There are 2 stages for this phase, phase 2A and phase 2B. Phase 2A is designed to assess dosing requirements or amount of drug to be given to treat the disease. And phase 2B is specifically designed to study efficacy or how well the drug affects at the prescribed dose. Then phase 3. Phase 3 is done after establishing preliminary evidence about the efficacy of the drug from phase 2 trials. This study obtains final confirmation of the drug's safety and efficacy. It is a randomized, controlled, multi-center trials and provide most of the long-term safety data. This involves a full examination of the risk or benefit profile of the drug, usually comparing it to commonly used treatments. It is done in a broader population, usually from 1000 to 3000 of patients over a longer period, often 1 to 4 years. Phase 3 has two stages of study, 3A and 3B. Phase 3A studies are used for the approval of the drug from the appropriate regulatory agencies. The result of these studies are included in the submission package to regulatory authorities. And Phase 3B studies often performed to obtain additional safety data or to support publication, marketing claims, or to prepare launch for the drug. And it is done between submission and approval of IND. Then Phase 4. This study provides additional evidence about the risk, benefit, and optimal use of drug and is done after approval of the drug to be sold in the market. This phase includes post-market surveillance studies, or this phase itself is known as post-market studies, which are mandated by the regulatory authority to verify the tolerability, safety, and effectiveness of a marketed drug in the real-world setting. Advantages of these studies are helps detection of long-term or rare adverse effects. Safety monitoring is possible in a larger group of patient population. Helps in planned collection of clinical data related to the use of drug in a varied spectrum of patients like pregnant women, pediatrics, geriatrics, etc. And this is the overall picture of clinical trials. The success rate of different phases are approximately recorded as follows. Almost 70% of the phase 1 trials goes to phase 2 and about 33% of phase 2 trials passes to phase 3, and from this 25 to 30% goes to the market. Among them, 70 to 90% surveils in the market, others are withdrawn. This is about clinical trials. Thank you for watching and don't forget to subscribe.